Hi again, this is Dr. Patricia Jo Ryan, and this is the next segment in teaching you this tool about how you can really learn how to tame your depression and anxiety. So we're going to start with this one because this is a very common statement that actually when I was teaching graduate students rational motor behavior therapy, this would come up. And my wife disrespected me by calling me lazy. So basically, we're going to go through the rational belief, the irrational belief, and the consequent feeling state that came out of this trigger. This is really a trigger. And it's really worthwhile to writing this out because when you're writing things out, very often you'll find that it beginning to make some sense to you. That basically it clarifies what you are saying to yourself, and you can see that. So you have not just hearing it, it's not just rolling around in your head, actually you're actually saying it. And sometimes I ask them to go back and reread that out loud to themselves so that their auditory cortex can hear that. So that I think that that really solidifies in their mind what we're doing here, because we're really talking about evaluation, because everybody is evaluating. As I'm talking, you're evaluating what I'm saying. You're fitting into where what I'm saying may be reasonable to you or how it fits with you. So we're going to go through this whole tool again of how to learn how to manage your emotion here so that you can have a more calm way of life, okay? So let's start out with my wife disrespected me by calling me lazy. So we don't have to go in terms of the rational belief first, the irrational belief next, and then to the consequent emotion. So in any case, it's not uncommon for people to go directly to mad. Now, basically, most people think that saying that to themselves will generate this level of emotion. That's not what generates the emotion. It's your evaluation, your interpretation of what that means to you in terms of your experience. So let's just go through this rational belief first, then we'll go through the irrational and what consequent feeling state winds up here. I'm circling mad because I think that that's probably what it's going to be. Because if you're saying to yourself, I don't like it that she called me lazy. It's too bad that she doesn't like my actions, or it's too bad that she thinks that of me. Because you can almost use this same ending of this sentence all the way down, because it will still help you develop a new way of evaluating what's going on with you. It's too bad. Actually, I think one of the other thoughts that I had about this is that I don't like it that she nags me, because I'll bet you that that's one of the things that people would say to themselves. So it's too bad that she doesn't give me time, because that's a rationalization, to complete tasks. I wish she would give me some leeway here about my behavior. If you have an irrational belief, those kinds of sentences are not going to, they might be irritating and they might be annoying, but you probably wouldn't be really mad about that. But when you go on to the irrational, and she shouldn't be talking to me like that, or she shouldn't be calling me names, it's awful that she makes this demand on me, and I can't stand it that she nags me so much. And she's really what you might think that some people say with the B word. So that's a real negative connotation. And that winds up generating this high level of anger. Okay? So it's these sentences, it's these irrational demands that she be different than she is, that really is what generates, this evaluation is what really generates that high level of feeling state. We could also say she shouldn't call me names. It's awful that she nags at me. And I can't stand being nagged. So she's a, whatever way you want to end that sentence. Okay? Usually it's pretty pejorative. and nasty. So once you've gotten through this, then basically you're at that high level of mad. So that it could be, on a scale of 10, it could be a 7, could be an 8. You could really wind up really getting into a high level of mad and bark back at her, yell at her, and tell her to stop calling you names. You could do almost any kind of thing. It could lead to other aggression and argument between you and your wife. So in any case, so if you don't want to have that, okay, then the next thing that we can do is learn how to dispute these irrational demands and reduce this level of emotion. So then we could say, okay, well, where's the evidence that she shouldn't call me names? I mean, people have been doing this for centuries. It may not be nice, and certainly you would prefer that she didn't call you lazy. And again, awful, I'm back to that awful. Awful is catastrophizing. It has no boundaries, so that basically the brain doesn't really process those kinds of words like that. I can't stand it again is one of those positions where you're still here, you're still there, you're still married, and basically, so it's really a lie you're telling yourself that you can't stand it. So you want to stop doing that because the brain knows better. It really does. So that, and the negative rating is certainly she's not what you might think that she is, because basically it's not a literal thing. This is really just a pejorative term that calling her name and doing the same thing that she was doing with you. So in any case, if you want to really begin to address this, you can start using the disputation, which is going to do what? Well, it's going to hopefully reduce that level of anger to annoyed. So it's disappointing that she calls me lazy. It's disappointing, I can stand it. I've been standing it for 10 years, for 25 years, for however long you have been standing this. So you can stand it. So it's a good idea to stop telling yourself that, because that isn't really good for your system either. So your behavior then can be, you can accept the fact that she's entitled to say whatever she wants. You don't have to necessarily get yourself unduly disturbed by what she says. It's too bad. And you can get to an acceptance level which will reduce that fear center in the brain, that overload of emotion. And that's really the bottom line of what we want to do. And so the behavior then, once you have processed this through, is this really getting down to the level of acceptance. Acceptance that it's really, that she can say those things because she can. And basically, it's not a good idea to demand that she not. You don't have to get yourself unduly disturbed by someone calling you names. And this could be used in almost any other kind of context where someone calls you something you don't like. So it's an evaluation process. You're doing that, you're creating your own disturbance, and you're maintaining your disturbance if you continue to allow yourself to demand that other people be different than they are. Actually, we can use this process to go through this to develop what might be sad feelings, okay? I don't like it that she calls me lazy or nags at me. It's too bad that she doesn't give me time to complete the tasks she wants. I wish she would give me more time. And basically the same irrational beliefs would hold. But you might really develop a different level of emotion with this in terms of sad. You can use any one of the mad, sad, scared, any one of these emotions that could be generated from this same activating event. Because in fact, we probably do go through a lot of evaluation and interpretation about processing that. Because I don't think anybody likes to be called lazy. And so working that through and keeping yourself from being unduly disturbed about that would probably be better in the long haul. It is disappointing that she has that perception of you. You can stand it. You have been standing it. You can begin to talk with her about that, begin a process of attempting to see if you can't clarify that with her. And so that, but then you would want to change this effect to be less sad. It's very common for people to demand that other people be different so that you can feel okay. So the bottom line here in terms of working with yourself is learning how to stop unduly disturbing yourself about things over which you have no control. You can't control anyone that calls you a name. There are people that get into fights about those kinds of things. You don't have to do that. So in any case, if you want to do something about these feeling states, then this is a good process to begin that process. So keep your sentences short. Keep your sentences to the point. These are sentence stems. I don't like it. It's too bad. I wish that. And he or she shouldn't, or I shouldn't. It's also good for working with yourself. It's awful is still the same. I can't stand it, and a negative rating of yourself, others, or whatever's happening in your world. And you can develop any one of these three. And I like to stay with those three because they are very basic emotions, so that you can learn how to manage your emotions as you go along. And this is an excellent process for doing that. So the effect of, if this were the emotion of sadness that you develop from this evaluation, then basically your effect would be a reduction in C, or the consequent emotion. So you would be less sad. And your behavior again would be, well, it could be acceptance that she's entitled to say what she thinks. It's just too bad that she thinks that way about you. Or you could start a more rational dialogue with her in terms of how come she's saying that and what's going on. Maybe she's making more demands than you can handle right now. Or maybe you have just ignored what she's been saying to you. So this might help develop a deeper relationship with her, or it could make it worse. So take care of yourself and really learn how to use yourself to learn about how you develop your emotions. Because this process, it takes about 3 months for you to begin to really incorporate this into your experience, and about 6 months for it to be more normal to you. But basically, this gives you so much emotional freedom that basically I can't really say how good this really can be. The reason why I present this process is that this is an evaluation that you can do in the privacy of your own head, quite frankly. And so therefore you can learn how to manage your emotional state. And it's really emotional re-education for you. So that basically you're not running around being disturbed all the time about things that happen in your life. Because you're now in charge of how you are evaluating and thinking about these things, so that you can help yourself get to lower levels of these emotions, because that gives you emotional freedom. You can learn how to be less mad, less sad, and less scared, and develop real emotional self-regulation if you use a process like this, so that you can learn how to manage your own emotion and be more flexible. Because we get into talking habits or thinking habits, and I'm saying in one of the past sessions I told you that a thought can generate a feeling that leads to behavior. Now, when you have that thought attached to that feeling, that can become a chain reaction, and you will just automatically do that, because our brain is an organ of repetition. And so you can learn how to use this process to reevaluate how you want to develop emotional self-regulation. So click subscribe. Continue to use this tool so you can learn how to tame depression and anxiety, and so that you can really get better emotional regulation, because you're in charge.